I was thinking about doing the clap, and I remember I was like, I don't have to do that anymore. That's what it was.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our next iteration of From the Couch. I am your host, Tony Jordan.
And I'm Uche, and we have a co-host today.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Theresa.
Yeah, so Theresa is our Chief of Engineering Services here at Weeghman Briggs, and we brought her in to kind of talk about a couple of things that we've been working on as a company over the course of the last several months since you really started, and our focus of growing our team and those that we're servicing. And so one of the big pieces of work that Teresa's been working with, as well as another one of our staff members, is a curriculum or a training program. And we wanted to bring Teresa on to talk specifically about why we feel that training is important, the lack of training that some of our folks have that are trying to grow within the industry, some of the customers that we service and their requests that they have, and how do we put something together for our team members to be able to really expand on what it is that they want to do. And so, kind of, if we can, Teresa, if you can give us kind of a little background of who you are, where you came from, and then some of the reasons why you have that passion for training. And as she's kind of touching on some of these things, I think Uche and I will go into some details on what we take from that and some of the spins that we feel that we'll be able to incorporate to this podcast here, as well as kind of our everyday service that we're providing as well. So please go ahead.
So I am a big believer in being a student for life. After I graduated undergrad, a lot of my friends were saying, I will never go to grad school. And I was saying, where do I apply to grad school? So I ended up finding a major called technology management. And I was really excited because it blended tech and leadership, which is kind of my wheelhouse, kind of straddling those two fields. I don't want to be just a techie, and I don't want to just be a leader over at home office disconnected from clients. So that technology management degree made a lot of sense to me. After I finished that, I got contacted by the school, and they said every class you took was cross-listed with the MBA program. You only have to take 3 classes to also have an MBA. And I said, can't turn that down.
Sign me up.
Right. And of course, I'm back in school again. I am going for a doctorate. Like I said, lifelong learner. There's always new things out there, and there's, especially now with all of the technology that we have and all of the ideas that are coming out, even if you just graduated, there's something new to learn.
Right.
And one of the things that I've noticed is that at every company where I've been privy to benefits and who's using them, et cetera, one of the least used benefits is education and training. And I couldn't wrap my brain around that. If you're not using your education and training benefits, you're leaving part of your pay on the table.
Right.
So then I started thinking about it. And at the same time, another one of our employees was thinking about ways to revamp training. And the thought that I came up with is that a lot of companies support work-life balance, but they don't support work-family balance. Mm-hmm. So what can we do to make training available during the hours that people who have families and outside obligations, what can we do to make training available to them when they're free in the subjects that they need?
Right.
And make it engaging and make it worthwhile to both the employee and the customer.
Right. So I kind of want to jump in on that from the training aspect of things. We've talked about from an analyst perspective, from an engineer's perspective, and that's really where you and our other team member came together. That individual, they're an analyst, you're an engineer, and so we talked about how oftentimes there's this miscommunication that happens. It's an assumption that takes place on either the analyst end or the engineer side, and the byproduct doesn't necessarily coincide with the end user. And the end user may be the analyst who's looking at, how to read specific forms of data, where the engineer, this makes absolute sense. I followed X, Y, and Z, and now I got to, this byproduct. But the analyst is saying, wait a minute, yes, you followed X, Y, and Z, but you left out 1, 2, and 3, which makes absolute sense as an analyst. That should be incorporated. But the engineer is looking at it, well, the steps say X, Y, Z I need to follow. So I think, when the two of you, as well as myself and some of our other leadership team members got together, we talked about, well, how do we really improve that communication line? And training is something that constantly came up. And so the two of you really put together a fantastic white paper and a idea to push forward to our team, which we're continuously improving and building something out. So our team members have that capability of being able to come in into the office here and learn about some of the things that engineers are doing, some of the nomenclature that they may not have access to or be privy to or knowledgeable of, and then vice versa, bringing some of our engineers in and talking to what are some of the expectations that analysts have that engineers may not see that side of. And we talk about that from, providing a service to a specific customer. When it comes to like Uche, for instance, though, your customer is our team, right? So it's Weeghman Briggs. How are you supporting Weeghman Briggs? And does this training even benefit you in that regard? Mm-hmm. And potentially some of our other staff members, recruiting and whatnot. And I feel that, once it's been implemented, once it's, the first iteration runs through, is that something that gives you an opportunity of being able to talk to kind of both sides and understand what it is that that analysts and engineers are doing in our services side of things. So kind of what's your take on that? And I know that you haven't been completely privy to like what the class is going to look like.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. So, what we're trying to do is provide a product that makes sense right out the gate. So someone doesn't show up and say, "Oh, wait, hang on a minute, wait, let's tweak this, And I think that's where you and our other staff member have talked about fine tuning more or less. So within the next several kind of weeks into months, and hopefully by close of calendar year, we have something that's in place. And so can you kind of touch on what that will look like in your opinion for our engineers as well as our analysts that are working here?
So one of the things that you brought up at the beginning of this was that analysts and engineers, we speak a different language. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the same things, but we may use the same word to mean completely different things. Something might be a reserved word for an engineer that's not for an analyst. And so that leads to a bit of a communication gap. So one of the things that is heavily touched on in the white paper that we submitted is the analyst and I were talking about ways to bring in experts in each field to help bridge that communication gap. Mm-hmm. A lot of people talk about the communication gap between management and technology, but I feel like engineering to analysis, even though there's relies so heavily on each other, there's not a lot of effort to help translate. So one of the things that we talked about doing is bringing in some of our experts on each of the subjects to run classes, and we're going to have a in-house training lab where those classes can be run and people can be following along on their computers or following along with the presentation, whichever makes most sense for that particular subject.
Right.
But I also want to take a minute here just to say one of the things I love about working at Weeghman Briggs is we were able to bring this idea to you and you said, run with it. That is a huge thing to me. And I'm really excited to see how we can get those classes run, or even just collaboration sessions between engineers and analysts to be able to communicate better. If, as an engineer, if I understand the requirements better, I can give you a better product.
Right.
And as an analyst, if they know how to give me the requirements, they'll get a better product.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to helping to be that company that fills in that gap.
Yep. So, Uche, you've been quiet. I already called you out once on that before.
Awesome.
I want to get kind of your take on what your thought process is.
I think it's a great idea.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, because something she touched on was like the gap between, the tech and the management side. So I'm more on the compliance side. It's the same thing over there, trying to get across the point of like certain controls that have to be met and the importance of that control. I think that class is going to be very helpful. I think makes me want to come up with something like that as well for the compliance side, to be honest.
It's funny that you say that. I was thinking that, as I asked the question, I'm like, well, you have that compliance side knowledge and skill that a majority of our team doesn't really even think about, right? And so that may be an important step that we use in our training to ensure that all of our staff members understand what it is that, why we stay secure in all of these various components when it comes to really the correspondence with some of our customers, when it comes to locking down our systems. And so, maybe that's a piece that you join, the two of them together and building something out. And even if it's a short snippet, maybe over time that evolves into something else. And I think that was something that we touched on early, is that it's going to be a product that is a living product where it's constantly evolving.
Growing.
Right.
Constantly adding new things to it.
And Theresa, I think you actually use that term, is that, things change constantly in the environment, from an engineering side to analysis side and from a compliance side. And so maybe that's something that we can really kind of hone in and bring together from our team to get an understanding of the language that all of us are using from management, engineering, compliance, analysis, kind of a life cycle of how things are done. So
I feel like the language is going to be, we have to come up with a name for it.
Yeah, we'll catch some catchy name of some sort.
Acronyms, something.
So just thinking about all of that, something that I would love to see Uche do is lead a class or a collaboration session. Every year in our industry, we have to take all of these trainings, and they always talk about operational security. And we really know about it from the perspective of being at our job.
Right.
Uche, do you think you could teach us about operational security in the home office and at home?
I'd have to teach about 3 different types of security: operational, management, and technical, because on the compliance side, they cover all 3. It's broken down into 3 categories. Management, which is really like dealing with assessments and risk management. Then you have operational, which is, the day-to-day people doing the stuff, and then technical, which is being executed by the software and the hardware. So
see, I'm already learning from you.
Yeah. So definitely that would be something I know he would love it. Cause
absolutely.
A lot of times, I'm saying things and I could tell Tony's like, okay, he's like trying to keep up with it, but I'm like, okay, he doesn't really fully know.
I don't, and I'm probably one of the first to raise their hand and say I'm ignorant in that subject completely. So help me.
That's what we're here for.
I could just keep thinking about, we're talking about all of these different languages that we speak, and what Uche just said about Tony's eyes when he's talking about compliance. Whenever I hear him talk about it, I know all those words. I know them individually. They're not making sense as a sentence.
Yeah. And a lot of times, there's times where I've heard things on the engineering side, and I'm like, okay, and I think it means what it means on my side. I'm like, oh, it means something completely different. Yeah. So 2 people can be talking about having the same conversation, but talking about 2 different things. It's very funny.
Yeah, getting all of those viewpoints involved and seeing how we all approach the different processes and projects that we're doing, being able to see that from each other's perspective is going to make everything so much better.
Right.
When you can talk each other's language and when you can understand the other viewpoints, that's where real growth happens.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. One of the key things in almost every podcast that we've had up to date is time. We always talk about time, and that's kind of something that you kind of leveraged just a little while ago about that work-family balance, and what that really revolves around is time. How are we spending our time to get the information that we need, to get the skills that we need to get to the next level? And I feel that every time that we discuss any subject, we're always reverting back to where does time come into play on this. And Uche said it on probably multiple times on multiple podcasts that it's a commodity that you can't get back, but how you're spending it is really one of the most important aspects of life itself. Is where are you putting your effort at, and where are you putting your time at in order to be better at your job, be better at being a friend, a parent, sibling, all those different things. And I feel that this podcast, for me specifically, has been really a way for me to be able to express, how important time is in life, and also the ability of being able to express what it's like, going through some of the challenges that we have. So yeah, we talked about challenges from an engineering and analyst perspective, but there's also other challenges that we have with that work-family balance, taking time away to do our job, but hey, we want to get trained up on something, and well, that's going to take away some time either from my job or from my family. And so working through identifying what that really looks like, how do we morph that into a product that everyone within our industry and many industries say, hey, that's going to be the norm now. No longer are we going to need to make this choice between work or family time. It's going to be incorporated into it. And as we work through that, a suggestion that you made, we're building that out and what that really entails, and how we get to a point of being able to say, we're going to carve out time for our team members to be better at the jobs that we're supporting, that our clients are asking of, and going above and beyond in that regard.
Right. So that's a very key aspect of the new training program that we're pitching. We all get 24 hours in a day.
Right.
And that's all we get. It doesn't matter if we have 32 hours worth of stuff to do. We get 24. And I think that a lot of people would get more training and brush up on their skills or learn new ones if the training fit their schedules better. But whenever you're talking about commercially available training, even training that's available online, if you want to be able to talk to the instructor, ask questions, you've got to do it on their timetable. So we're making these classes available on the timetable that our employees have.
Right.
Switching the focus, and we can do that because we're in-house.
Very true. Very true. And you had mentioned before, if some of our team members, they're located really all across the country and around the globe, we get that capability of being able to have something readily available to them. And if there is a class that's going live, or if it's a recorded class, they still have that capability of being able to kind of rewind or ask those questions where they get an answer or response relatively quickly, if not immediately. Yep. Because it's in-house. So,
quick question. Didn't mean to cut you
You're
off.
good. No, all good, all good.
So how is this training going to be distributed? Like, is it going to be like a Zoom call, or is it a document? I know you said it's like a living.
So we are coming up with a couple of different ways to do that. We've considered a few different formats. For example, one of the things that we talked about is the online training that's available to everybody. Mm-hmm. There's so many websites out there where you can take classes, but there's nobody to ask a question.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that we considered is if we bring in somebody from our company who's an expert in that, and everybody's taking that class online at the same time, and the expert is available for questions, you've just taken a publicly available training and you've turned it into something customized.
Gotcha.
So if we did that, that would be kind of in person. If we had people who wanted to participate from California, Hawaii, Georgia, we could do that as a Zoom or a Teams meeting type of thing. And we can have the conversations recorded so that they're accessible later
on.
Because one of the things that I've noticed is people ask the same questions. If the training's unclear on a particular point, multiple people are going to ask it. So
Right.
if the answer's available, they don't have to go seek it out.
Yep, absolutely. So, a couple different kind of closing points here. I know that it's a passion that you have. I really cut my teeth within this industry. I think Weeghman Briggs' first contract was doing training at the Cyber Center, and so that's something that's definitely important to us when it comes to growing our team's knowledge in various capacity. As we continue to evolve this curriculum and build our team, I think something that's important is being able to offer that same training out to folks that we work with as well. And what
Our
I mean by that
partners.
is, other companies, and bring them in, because then we can leverage some of their subject matter experts in that capacity. And so I feel that once it's kind of off the ground, once it's started to really turn into what we want it to be, and then obviously, as we said before, it'll kind of, it's fluid, so we'll make those changes, but bring in some of those partners and talk with them and leverage their skills and help build them up too, because that's going to do a couple different things. One, it's going to build a better relationship or a stronger relationship with those companies. It's going to build their skill set, because that's what we're pitching. I mean, most of the time, these other companies, we're going after pieces of work with them. And so we want everyone to be on the same page and have the same opportunities and capabilities as one another. And then I think kind of the last thing is that our customers that we're supporting, they're going to recognize that, hey, they're investing into providing a better product. And I think that that's important in all facts of the work that we're putting forward. We want our customers to recognize, hey, Weeghman and Briggs people are top of the line. They're doing the extras that they're not charging us for to make sure that the end product is the best it can possibly be.
Well, and just one more point I wanted to make about the main thread that we've been talking about, which is all of those different languages and making it so that we can communicate better. The other thing is, if we have analysts coming to an engineering discussion or engineers going to analysis discussions, you never know who's going to be inspired and who might want to take their career in a different path because they just found something that they're passionate about.
Right.
When you share your passions, that's what makes other people experience them.
Exactly.
So we don't pigeonhole people here. We've been working with a couple of different employees who wanted to completely and totally change tacts. And this is going to let people kind of get their feet wet. I think I might want to be an engineer. I'm going to go to Theresa's talk on Python.
Right.
Yeah, it's just giving everybody just that incredible chance to find something that they love.
Exactly. And have that capability of being able to just stop by or log on or one click away from getting new information. And that's really what we try to do here on our podcast, is ensure that our listeners have the capability of learning. We talk about time and we talk about teaching. And those are like two major components to every aspect of almost every single podcast we have. Let's hope that someone that's listening leaves with some entertainment value. That's always, a key component. This may have been a little dry for some, but the main focus is that they're learning from what we're talking about. And I think Uche said it like maybe 1 or 2 podcasts ago. If we only have 2 viewers on one of our podcasts, but one of them walk away with some
walk away with
new
something.
knowledge. Yeah, exactly. We're leaving our mark on the earth. And I think that was probably the title of one of the ones that we had, the Vince Scully one that we did a couple weeks ago. That's an important piece. It's about leaving a mark and ensuring that those that are around us are successful and we're helping them grow in that success. Ask the individual constantly, what are your goals? What are your dreams? How do we help you do it?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes Weeghman Briggs special, I think, is it looks at everything from the point of view of the employee. How do we make it easier for them to fit this into their lives? How do we make it so that some of those 24 hours in a day are able to be devoted to learning what they want to learn?
Right.
It's a unique point of view, and it's one that I'm really proud to be part of.
Awesome. Yep. I am too. Thanks, Uche. Yeah, so I think that is primarily our major mark for today, was just to really touch on the importance of training and incorporating what we're doing here at Weeghman Briggs with our team members, and then eventually it'll pan out to our partners that we work with. And our goal, once again, is just generate an opportunity for people to learn. And thank you for giving us your time as we give you ours in generating that training. So anything else before we wrap?
Yeah, one more thing.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the work-family balance, and we know that you are a father.
I am.
And we've talked about the low entertainment value probably of this particular episode.
Okay.
What's your best dad joke?
Oh my gosh. Man, I don't know if I have like a joke that I go to. I think for me it's always like situational. So, my kids will say something at the table, and I don't know, I just kind of some sort of pun or play on words, and I can see them like kind of give like one another these like looks like, oh my gosh. And they always give me like these courtesy laughs too. I know what's going on, but I appreciate the courtesy laugh. But I think what that does is that potentially may push me to do more of these puns or more of these silly jokes. But yeah, I don't really have like a go-to dad joke. You have one. I have a feeling that
of course I do. But yeah, since that wasn't very funny, Uche?
Why did she knock on the refrigerator?
Why?
Because the salad was dressing.
Nice.
And I'd like to leave you with a duck walks into a drugstore. He says, "Give me a tube of chapstick and put it on my bill."
Nice. Well, hopefully you guys got some good entertainment value on that. I appreciate you trying to bring a dad joke out of me.
This is why we're in tech. We're not comedians.
Someday, I don't know. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, for listening in. If you have any questions about anything, or there's any topics that you want us to focus on, definitely click down below and give us a shout. I think our goal for some coming up episodes are going to have some call-ins. That's one of the goals. And then also we're going to have a buddy of mine who has been in the financial industry for many years. We're going to have him come on and give some info on some of the stuff that he's been doing, and some of the products that he's put together, and products that I've bought into, because I think it's important. I think he's got some good ideas. So hopefully we'll get some followers that are interested in listening there, and we'll get that set up. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back next week. All right, that's it from the couch.
Peace.